Hey, so I'm here to talk to you about reading the field now. This should hopefully be the last video that you have to watch from me for a little bit. Cool. So we're going to start by identifying the two sides of the field because this is kind of the most embarrassing thing that you can mess up, okay? So I'm standing on the 50-yard line here in the Bloomington High School parking lot right in front of the Fine Arts Extension right there, okay? And you're going to see on your coordinate sheet, and hopefully I probably explained this to you already once, but I'm showing you actually on the field, okay? So I've got side 1 or side A or left, whatever it says on your coordinate sheet. I'm looking from that's the front of the field, and this is the back of the field, okay? So I'm standing right now towards the back. If I'm looking from front to back, like if I'm Mr. Chernick on the podium, okay? The one to my left is side A or side 1, okay? And the one to my right is side B or side 2 or right, whatever that says on your coordinate sheet, okay? The reason that this gets confusing for students is because we obviously perform to the audience standing towards the front. And so a lot of people think, oh, side 1, side 2, but they're not thinking about it from the audience's or Mr. Chernick's perspective. So you need to think side 1, side 2, okay? We've hopefully at this point looked at reading a coordinate sheet and reading the field, and you'll notice it looked a lot like a grid, okay? And if you've taken a math class before, hopefully you've had to plot some sort of point. And to plot a point, you need to have two pieces of information, two key pieces. You need to know where it lies on the x-axis, okay? And you need to know where it lies on the y-axis. Finding your dot and playing the game of connect the dots on the field, which is how we make the animations and make shapes in marching band, is exactly the same way. You need to have a piece of information for your x-axis and a piece for your y-axis. So we're going to talk about how to find quickly those pieces of information anywhere that you are on this parking lot, so that you are like, okay, I'm very confident I'm supposed to be right here in the formation, and then I'm going to move, and my next dot, and I'm going to be right here, per se, okay? So let's start with the x-axis. Let's start on the back sideline, okay? So you will see that there are these little purple lines right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They run all the way down the back sideline, and then on any of these, if you'll notice, I'll run up here. They're here in line with the hashes on all of the yard lines for both the back hash, the front hash, and the front sideline, okay? These GACs is what we call them. We call them GACs, okay? They mark every yard line, right? So, and again, you've probably seen a football game where if a player gets downed on one of these yard lines, so say that's the 50, this is the 45 facing, and this is the 46, okay? But that's not helpful for us reading the field or being able to find out where our dot is. Instead, we need to convert the information we do have in front of us into 8 to 5 steps, which just is how we're going to find our dot. You may remember, if you're a veteran, that at some point we used to do this thing where we would stand on a yard line, and if our coordinate sheet said 3 steps inside, which means towards the 50, okay? If we took 3 steps inside, you would just arbitrarily take your best 8 to 5 step size and be like, okay, this is good, which is fine, except for all of our 8 to 5 step sizes are not perfect, okay? So this is hopefully going to help you mathematically be more accurate, and then therefore make the form look better because everyone is using the same method of marking it off, and we don't have to have varying different sizes of steps. Cool. So the two numbers that you need to remember, I just held up 4 fingers. 2 numbers you need to remember are 1.6 and 3.2, which you'll notice is just 1.6 added onto itself again. Okay, I'm gonna say that one more time. 1.6 and 3.2. That's just referring to the number of steps, 8 to 5 steps, okay, that it takes for you to get from here to this GAC, 1.6, 8 to 5 steps, and 3.2, 8 to 5 steps, okay? And you're going to use that information. Now, wait, let's talk real fast. Why didn't I count these ones? Because this is 1.6 from this yard line and 3.2 from this yard line as well. So you don't need to add on another 1.6 because it would be silly to go from this yard line when we're closer to this yard line now, okay? So you only need to remember those 2 numbers, okay? Really only 1.6 because you're just adding that on again. And then we can use that information to find any sort of the step that we need to find from on our x-axis, okay, from our left to right. If you've ever shared a cookie with somebody and you had to split the cookie, and usually the rule in my household is somebody splits it and then the other person gets to choose which slice of the cookie they want, right? And we can oftentimes tell just with our eyes, even if we split it right down the middle, which one's bigger. It's just like our brain just works like that. Our eyes can tell really fast what half of something is and when it's not half, right? So this is actually a very, very solid technique to get yourself to be really mathematically accurate with how you mark off your dot without you having to guess with your muscle memory, stepping off each one of those 8 to 5 steps, and you could be incrementally more wrong and wrong as you keep going, okay? So if I know that this is 1.6, okay, we're gonna do a little bit of math, so follow me. If I know this is 1.6 and this is 3.2, okay, then halfway in between that is 2.4, okay? So I'm thinking, I'm literally gonna have the cookie in my brain. I'm like, okay, and I put my foot right there, okay? Or I can put, depending on which way I wanna go, okay? And let's say that I'm trying to find 2 steps from this yard line, okay? 1.6, 3.2, so halfway is 2.4. And then I need to find halfway between 1.6 and 2.4, which is 2, which is what I'm trying to find, okay? So I go right in between that. I put my right ankle bone right where I need to go, and that's where my dot is, okay? Let's do another one. Let's do 3, okay? So I want to find 0 steps from the yard line, because it is the yard line, and 3.2. We've got 1.6 here. Halfway is 2.4 again, remember. This will start to become muscle memory. It will become a lot faster. My cookie's not the right size, okay? Halfway between 2.4 and 3.2. I'm doing the math in my head, 2.8. And halfway between 2.8 and 3.2 is 3. Voila. It becomes super simple, and you'll also notice this is like, we'll put you right here, and you'll be able to see these because they're on 4 different places, the back sideline, back hash, front hash, and front sideline. You'll be able to see them from any spot on the field. And you can use this in order to accurately mark off how far to the left or to the right, I'm probably backwards for you, left or right, that you need to be as far as the 8 to 5 steps on your coordinate sheet. Cool? So now that you've got that basically down, let's talk y-axis, okay? Let's talk front to back. I've given you already, I will take the blame for it, but I'm gonna hopefully not confuse you. I've already explained your 4 indicators that you will use to mark off your dot with your coordinate sheet on the y-axis, okay? We have 2 sidelines and 2 hashes. The sidelines are the very edges of the field on the back and the front, okay? And then the hashes are these little, they're not gaps, because remember the gaps are each of our yard lines, but they're called hashes, and they run horizontally across each one of the yard lines all over the field. There's some on the back, and there's some on the front. It's important to know this is a pro tip, not to really remember, but to just throw in the back of your brain. They are in different spots based on the type of field that you're on. So for example, on a high school field, they are wider. On a college field, they're narrower, and on a pro field, they're even narrower. Okay, just tuck that in the back of your brain. That's kind of one of those pro tips, okay? So we're gonna talk about marking off a dot now from a spot on the y-axis. So say my coordinate sheet that I have says that I'm gonna be 4 steps in front of the back hash. Cool, I know that's the front of the field, that's the back of the field. I know this is the back hash. So I'm standing on my back hash. Again, what we used to do is sit on this hash, and then we used to take 4 arbitrarily close 8 to 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4 to our dot. The problem is everybody's 8 to 5 steps is a little bit different. Even mine is not perfect, right? So there are now these purple dots all over the field. They're on every single yard line in 4 8 to 5 step increments from each hash or from each sideline on every single one of the white lines on this parking lot and on the north lot, okay? And you can use these in order to do that half trick again, where you're gonna go, but you can go halfway in between and split and find, again, your spot on the y-axis more quickly and more accurately than marking it off with your feet. Let me give you a couple examples, okay? So if I'm, again, we'll go back to the one I just gave you, 4 steps in front of the back hash. Well, because they're in 4-step increments, here's a dot right here. I'll just go put my right ankle bone on it and stand on it. Done. 4 steps in front of the back hash. I don't have to mark it off. I don't have to be inaccurate. I've actually taken a tape measure and found it for you, so there it is. Congratulations. Let's do a harder one. Let's do 3.5. Okay? So then what do I have to do? I have to find 0 from the hash, because it is the hash, 4, which is my purple dot. I'm going to do my little cookie trick. I'm going to go halfway in between, which is 2. And halfway in between 2 and 4 is 3. Yep, that looks good. So I'm going to go 3. And halfway in between 3 and 4 is my 3.5. Okay? And I'm going nice and slow for you, but like in the heat of the moment, I can do what? Like the most you'll ever get to is a quarter step in your drill. You'll see like 3.75 or 2.25. And again, if I wanted to do that, if I wanted to go from 3.5 in between 3.5 and 4, what can I do? That's 3.75. And think about how accurate that is, because again, this has all been measured with a tape measure. And your brain is very good at just half. So it's a lot easier and a lot quicker and a lot more accurate for you to be in that correct shape. And that's going to hopefully help the animation flow a lot better.